Tiffany Henyard actually has two political jobs on two public payrolls. As mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, Super Mayor.
Don Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because two trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make official.
It's hard to imagine a political figure with more swirling controversy than Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Downton, Illinois, from alleged corruption to eviction scandals. Her name has become synonymous with chaos in the small village she governs. But just when you think the drama couldn't escalate any further, the FBI has stepped in, accusing her of corruption on a scale that has left residents in shock. And that's just the beginning of her latest woes. I'm not going to generalize. We'll turn
up more and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
Let's start with the most jaw-dropping revelation. Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor, is now facing allegations of embezzling millions from public funds. The FBI's investigation uncovered what they describe as a calculated scheme to funnel taxpayer money into personal accounts and unauthorized spending. According to sources close to the investigation, the figure being floated is close to $2 million, a staggering amount for a small village already struggling with dire financial problems. Residents, already frustrated by years of questionable leadership, were blindsided by the scale of the alleged theft. One anonymous official described the situation as a massive breach of public trust, adding, this isn't just about mismanagement, this is outright theft. Plain and simple, the accusations come at a time when Dalton's finances were already under scrutiny. A preliminary financial report from earlier this year revealed that the village's general fund had dropped from a surplus of over $5 million in 2022 to a deficit of nearly $4 million by mid-2024. Critics have long accused Henyard of reckless spending, but this new twist allegations that she siphoned public money for personal use have turned frustration into outright fury. One local resident summed it up during a public meeting, saying she was supposed to be fixing the streets, not lining her pockets. Meanwhile, calls for her resignation have grown louder, with community members demanding accountability and an end to what some are calling a henchman era of corruption.
We're very appreciative to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993, and she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue-collar people who are still carrying this?
Despite being at the center of multiple scandals, Henyard recently declared her intention to run for another term as mayor. But instead of rallying support, this move seems to have further enraged her critics. She has the nerve to ask for our votes while stealing from us, said one Dalton resident during a heated town hall meeting. The announcement has been described as tone deaf at best, with some calling it outright delusional. Making matters even more absurd is the irony of her personal financial troubles, while Henyard continues to rake in a six-figure salary from her dual roles as Dalton's mayor and Borton Township supervisor. She's also facing an eviction lawsuit from her own landlord, according to court documents. Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, stopped paying rent on their Downton home back in August. Their landlord, Janetta Hull, claimed they now owe her thousands of pounds in back rent and late fees. And her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, claimed they now owe her thousands of pounds in back rent and late fees. Described the situation as a nightmare. revealing that Henyard and Woods not only failed to pay, but also changed the locks on the house to keep her out. "I have nowhere else to turn," Paul said in a recent interview, adding that she fears losing the property to foreclosure because of the unpaid rent. It looks like a misspending of tax funds. I think that's the biggest concern. The details of the eviction saga have only added fuel to the fire for Henyard's critics. Bull, who once considered Henyard a friend, said she reluctantly agreed to rent the home to the mayor back in 2021 after being pressured to cancel an agreement with another tenant. At the time, she believed Henyard would be a reliable tenant given her prominent position and substantial income, but Hull's trust was misplaced when property taxes forced her to raise the rent by just piece 200 earlier this year. Woods reportedly told her they couldn't afford it. Since then, payments have completely stopped, leaving Hall scrambling to cover her own expenses for someone making over $300. Zero a year. This is unacceptable. Hall said she's supposed to be a leader, but she doesn't even pay her bills. Paul's frustration is shared by many in Dalton, where residents have grown weary of Henyard's antics, from her lavish spending on taxpayer-funded parties to allegations of mismanagement. The list of grievances against her keeps growing. One of the most outrageous examples came earlier this year when it was revealed that Henyard had spent over PS3,000 on Amazon purchases using the village's credit card. The spending spree included everything from decorative items to what critics described as completely unnecessary luxury goods. "She's acting like the village is her personal piggy bank," said one trustee during a public hearing.
Not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No.
But it's not just the financial scandals that have people talking. Henyard's behavior at public meetings has also drawn widespread criticism over the past year. Her clashes with Dalton trustees have become the stuff of legend, with meetings often devolving into shouting matches and walkouts. In one particularly outrageous incident, Henyard called the police on workers who were removing banners with her face on them. The banners, emblazoned with her title of super mayor, had been put up without board approval, and the vendor who created them claimed they were owed nearly $200 in unpaid bills when trustees ordered the banners removed. Henyard reportedly demanded that police arrest the workers, calling the removal theft of government property. Video footage of the incident shows her arguing with officers, saying, "Press charges on them if you have to. Nobody messes with my property." The situation escalated further when Henyard appointed a new police chief without board approval, sparking yet another firestorm. The appointee, Ronald Berg-Shear, was found to be inactive according to state law enforcement records, meaning he wasn't legally qualified to serve as chief. Despite this, Henyard insisted on the appointment, leading to a legal standoff between her and the trustees. And fortunately, the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even sent a letter urging Henyard to remove Burge from the position, but she refused. Instead, she doubled down, accusing the trustees of undermining her authority. Yeah, Ray and Mike Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this. We'll be seeking arrests for individuals involved. We'll be pressing charges. It's a lot. And that's just me telling you a little bit. The video, which quickly went viral, was widely criticized as yet another example of Henyard's erratic behavior. "She's lost touch with reality," one resident commented. "Ha, who threatens to arrest people for disagreeing with them?" Whew. Another witness commented, "By the way, how are we supposed to view this? We have just violated the boundaries of their property. But it appears that Henyard has been awaiting this moment. This isn't a dictatorship." Yet we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. The FBI's ongoing investigation into the Henyard administration has only added to the tension. Federal agents have reportedly seized financial records from both Doton and Thornton townships, as well as documents related to Henyard's personal spending. While no charges have been filed yet, sources close to the investigation say it's only a matter of time. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard remains defiant. In a recent statement, she dismissed the allegations against her as politically motivated and vowed to fight back. "I have done nothing wrong." She said, "This is all part of a smear campaign by my opponent, who is jealous of my success." She even went so far as to compare herself to former US President Donald Trump, claiming she would win re-election in a landslide despite the controversies, just like Trump. "I'm coming in strong," she said during a public meeting. "The people know the truth and they will stand by me, right?"
Reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not.
But will they for many? In Dalton, the answer is a resounding no. Residents are fed up with what they see as a never-ending circus, and the calls for Henyard's resignation are growing louder by the day as the drama unfolds. One thing is clear: Tiffany Henyard isn't going down without a fight. Whether it's the eviction lawsuit, the FBI investigation, or the growing backlash from her own community, she's determined to hold on to power at all costs. But with so many scandals piling up, even her staunchest supporters are beginning to question how much longer she can last. And with the next election just months away, the people of Dalton will soon have their say. Will Henyard's bold claims of a re-election landslide come true? Or will her scandals finally catch up to her? Only time will tell. If the board does not show up, we are not able to pay bills. We are not able to handle the business. Tiffany Henyard's rise to power was not just political, it was strategic, calculated. And many would argue built on a foundation of manipulation cloaked in charm. But behind the polished campaign slogans and promises of progress lies a complex story of how she cloaked her way to the top, using every tool in her desk to hide things. Who have been following her career closely. Her current legal and political troubles are less of a surprise and more of an inevitable outcome of years of unchecked ambition. Very disturbing to hear these things or to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it. And I think the taxpayers really deserve better than that. Hen's journey into politics began with bold promises and a carefully crafted image of herself as a champion of the underdog. She presented herself as the fresh face of leadership, someone who could revitalize Doton and Toron Township with her youthful energy and modern ideas. But as her critics would later point out, her political ascent was marked by a series of moves that seemed less about serving the community and more about consolidating her own power. From the start, her focus was clear: control, and she wasted no time in making sure she had it. One of her earliest and most controversial strategies was her approach to immense Henyard. Quickly, she learned that placing loyalists in key positions could strengthen her grip on local government. She began systematically replacing those who might challenge her authority with individuals who would not only support her decisions, but also help shield her from accountability. This wasn't just about filling vacancies. It was about building a protective wall around herself. Trustees, department heads, and even law enforcement officials were carefully selected to ensure their allegiance to Henyard over the public. They were meant to serve. Gardner says he's been harassed in his business raid and shut down by D-Police, he believes, because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained to them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork. Nowhere was this more evident than in her relationship with the Dalton Police Department early in her tenure. Henya made it clear that she intended to take full control of law enforcement in the village, a move that would later become one of the most criticized aspects of her administration. She appointed a series of police chiefs, each more controversial than the last. Most recently, her decision to